All right, up next we move to the co-main event of the evening and the best fight on the card. I think anybody wouldn't deny that, or nobody would deny that, I should say. In a lightweight battle between the number one ranked former lightweight champion coming off that submission loss to Islam Makhachev back at UFC 280 in Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, going up against the number four ranked streaking contender on the brink of a title shot in Beneil Dariush. Combined records for both men include 33 victories and 9 losses for Charles Oliveira to 22 victories, 4 losses, and 1 no contest on the side of Beneil Dariush. Combined record, you've got 55 wins and 13 losses. I mean, this is a high-level fight, a fight of the highest degree. And in my opinion, this is a 50-50 fight. This is 50-50. I see a lot of people picking Beneil Dariush. I see a lot of people discrediting Charles Oliveira. I could see why. I think it makes sense. And when you really break down the technical side, I think I understand why a lot of people are on the side of Beneil Dariush. But did you forget the run that Oliveira had before he lost to Makhachev? I don't know how well Beneil Dariush would do against Makhachev, but we'll obviously get into the technical breakdown right about now. But you look at the height, 5'10", equal height, 2-inch reach advantage for Oliveira. I think he's going to have to use that reach and distance in this fight to have the most success. I think when you look at this fight, you're going to see a fight between two grapplers, but you have two grapplers who have extremely solid technical striking. I would say the sharper technical striker on the feet is going to come from Oliveira, and I say that because I think he has better straight punches than Beneil Dariush. Beneil's a southpaw, Oliveira's an orthodox fighter, but I think Beneil's strikes on the feet, when it comes to the boxing, is going to be a little bit more loopy, a little bit more telegraphed than Oliveira. Oliveira has good jabs, good 1-2s, good straight punches right down the center, good right hands over the top. He likes to circle to that rear side, land that right hand over the top, break off the clinch, and land the right hand like you saw him have success with against Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. He can measure inside the clinch, roll underneath, get off to that rear side against an orthodox fighter, and land that overhand right. If he's fighting a southpaw, he's going to circle more towards that lead side, try to come down the center and land a split cross against a southpaw in Beneil Dariush. I think that the boxing is more on the side of Oliveira. I think it's sharper. Beneil Dariush, I think he has the better kicking game on the feet. He's got very solid and powerful left body kicks. Training under coach Rafael Cordero, King's MMA, left power body kicks, good inside low kicks. Against an orthodox fighter in Oliveira, he's going to be looking to attack the inside low kick. But the thing that Oliveira does that's going to negate that inside low kick attack is by being very light on that lead leg and landing front teep kicks to the body, landing knees if he enters in the clinch, lead elbows, lead up elbows to close the distance. But the lead teep kicks, the lead low kicks, that's going to be a weapon to shut down the power inside low kicks of Beneil Dariush. To the body, teep to the knee, kind of like a John Jones. But he's very light on that front leg, which makes it harder for the opponent to set and attack the lead leg with power low kicks, but it would be an inside kick because Beneil is southpaw. But when it comes to the striking, like I said, I think power kicks, the kicking game, more on the side of Beneil. Body kicks, that's something Oliveira has to watch out for. He is going to try to blast that body. The better wrestler is going to be Beneil Dariush. I think the better scrambler in the fight is Beneil Dariush. I think the better jiu-jitsu artist is Charles Oliveira, but Beneil Dariush is a no-gi grappling world champion. He's also a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. But when you see jiu-jitsu versus wrestling in a grappling style of setting, more than likely the wrestler is going to have the advantage, and the wrestler is going to win against a jiu-jitsu fighter. And you know why? Because they have better hip pressure, they have a better ability to settle their hips down and not give you as much space to be able to work your jiu-jitsu. And we saw that against Islam Makhachev. Makhachev, when they did go to the ground, there was some good scrambles. There was a opportunity where Oliveira did work his way back up to the feet with a head on the inside single attempt and push, Makhachev up against the cage, but then he got hip tossed by Makhachev. He got inside tripped or outside tripped by Makhachev, and Makhachev had the better wrestling and was able to stifle the jiu-jitsu. But Oliveira did use the jiu-jitsu and the leg lock attempts and the armbar attempts, the submission attempts to work his way back up to the feet. And even, I think it was a leg lock he used to then push into Makhachev, get into the over-unders, and use that to stand up and break out of the bottom position. But then that's where Makhachev was able to time the knee of Oliveira and land that Oshigari, but the Oshigari hip toss throw. And that's something that we're going to have to worry about, because I think Beneil has the better wrestling. He's very good with the scrambles. I mean, just go back and watch the Mateusz Gamrot fight. I mean, constantly scrambling. He looks for submission attempts of his own to be able to reverse into top position. He looks for takedowns. He's able to, get up to that tactical get up where you scoot on your butt and then have that rear hand to be able to push off and stand back up. Very good tactical get ups, but he can use that tactical get up position if he gets pushed off balance to then reshoot on his opponents and use that to get into takedown attempts of his own top position. I think Beneil is a much better wrestler. I think the scrambles are going to be very, very high level between these two. We're going to see some of the most high level grappling in this fight, just like you saw with Mateusz Gamrot and the Beneil Dariush, or Mateusz Gamrot and Beneil Dariush at UFC 280. So that is something we're going to have to look out for. But the last time both of these guys fought was on the same card at UFC 280. So I think it's very fitting that they are going up against each other. I think that Beneil does have power on the feet to hurt Oliveira. Oliveira gets hurt in almost every one of his fights, but we've seen Beneil get hurt. We've seen him get cracked. We've seen him get knocked out. We've seen him get put out as well. Jakar Close hurt him very bad with a 1-2 right down the middle, straight punches. And then Beneil hurt him with a counter shot and then was able to come over the top with the overhand left and drop Jakar Close and knock him out. We've seen him knock out Scott Holtzman with a spinning back fist. Like, this is a 50-50 fight in my opinion. And if you're betting on this fight, being heavy on either side, I think is a mistake. I don't think that betting either Dariush or Oliveira heavily is the right way to take this fight at all. I think a lot of people are discrediting and disrespecting Oliveira after that loss to Makhachev. And we don't know what Dariush and Makhachev would look like, but I do think that Dariush may make it a little bit more competitive with the wrestling transitions. And like I said, I think Dariush is the better overall wrestler, better scrambler than Oliveira. But at the same time, Gamrot didn't have the submission threat that Oliveira has. So maybe he won't be as eager to scramble with a guy like Oliveira because he could get caught in a leg lock. He could get caught in a guillotine off a takedown attempt like he caught Kevin Lee with. He could get caught in a Kimura, get switched to an armbar, switched to a triangle choke. Like, the submission threat is much higher on the side of Oliveira for Dariush than it was against Mateusz Gamrot. So you have to take that into consideration, as well as maybe Dariush won't be as eager to scramble with a guy like Oliveira, who has the submission threat, who has all those wins via submission and can snatch up your neck, snatch up an arm, snatch up your leg in the blink of an eye in those scrambles and potentially get Dariush out of there. I don't believe Dariush, you know what, I think Dariush may have lost via submission in his career. Let me check that for you. 22-4-1. Submitted one time. So he got submitted by Michael Chiesa in the second round via rear naked choke. A guy who is now a welterweight, so he was a big lightweight at the time. One loss via submission, 3 losses by knockout, never lost a decision. So that is something to look at as well. If it goes to the scorecards, do you side with Beneil Dariush to be able to out-scramble, out-position, land the big body kicks, land the more powerful shots on the feet, and be able to control Oliveira for the majority of the fight? If you look at Charles Oliveira, 33-9, Oliveira has been submitted 4 times, knocked out 4 times. So out of 9 losses, he's been finished 8 out of those 9 losses. But out of his wins, he's got 21 wins by submission, 9 wins by way of knockout. So 30 out of 33 victories on the side of Do Bronx and Charles Oliveira come by way of finish. So I think that Oliveira, let's see, so we got 30 out of 33 wins by finish for Oliveira, and we've got 13 out of 22 wins by way of finish for Beneil Dariush. So I think if it goes to the scorecards, you're going to side with Beneil Dariush. But at the same time, Oliveira only has lost 1 decision in his career, but most of his fights don't go the distance. I mean, out of 42 fights? Out of 42 fights, he's had 38 out of 42 fights finish inside the distance. So look at it that way. I think if it does go to decision, I would side with Beneil Dariush. I think if it finishes inside the distance, I think it's Oliveira snatching up a neck or snatching up a leg or an arm in the scrambles Even though I think Beneil is the better wrestler with better control, I think he is not facing, or he hasn't faced a guy with the submission threat of an Oliveira where he can catch him in those scrambles with a guillotine, an armbar, an omoplata, use the omoplata to sweep, look to go for the leg locks in the Ashigarami game. I think it is a possibility, but at the same time, Oliveira has lost 4 times out of his 9 losses by submission. So maybe if Dariush is able to control with the wrestling, is able to control on the top position, and really stifle the jiu-jitsu and the work off of his back from Charles Oliveira, then maybe he's able to lock up a rear naked choke if Oliveira gives up his back. Maybe he's able to lock up an arm triangle choke like Islam Makhachev. I would not bet this fight, but in a 50-50 fight, if you are going to bet, I would say to side with the underdog in Oliveira, just because it's a 50-50 fight. If it's 50-50, more than likely you take the underdog most of the time. So you've got Oliveira sitting at a, let's see, I don't have the odds on this fight, but we'll pull it up. I think he's plus 120, somewhere around there, as an underdog. Hold on. Give me a second, sorry. For some reason, they don't have the odds listed on the UFC website, but we're going to pull it up for you. With the co-main event, you've got Charles Oliveira plus 125, Beneil Dariush minus 145. The under 2.5 is minus 180. So I would say the safest bet for the fight is going to be the under 2.5 at minus 180. But if I'm picking a side in this one, even though I think Beneil has more advantages, even though I think Beneil might be the better overall fighter, I think that Oliveira possesses more ability to finish the fight. And I think that Beneil has shown durability issues, as has Oliveira. But in a 50-50 fight, like I think this is truly, I'm going to side with the underdog. I'm going to go with the plus 125 Charles Oliveira to defeat Beneil Dariush. I think he catches him with a clean straight right hand down the center and hurts Dariush. Gets him wobbled. Dariush tries to come back and wrestle and gets submitted. So I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira to defeat Beneil Dariush via a second round guillotine choke submission. I know that Beneil is a guy who I don't think, like we said, we talked about this already. How many times has he been finished by sub? Once? Yeah, just one time out of his 4 losses has come by submission, but it was against another high-level wrestler and jiu-jitsu artist in Michael Chiesa, and he lost via rear naked choke in round 2. Even though Chiesa is a welterweight now, I think that Dariush hasn't used his scrambling ability in wrestling against guys as dangerous as Oliveira, who is one of, if not the most dangerous jiu-jitsu artist in the game. But again, we said the same thing about Islam Makhachev, where I picked Oliveira to win, and Oliveira got out-controlled, got controlled from the top, and got pressured and finished himself by submission. So I think it's 50-50, but give me the underdog in the plus 125 Charles Oliveira, and give me him to get it done inside the distance via second round guillotine choke off hurting Beneil on the feet with a straight right hand. He shoots a bad takedown as he's wobbled and gets locked in that guillotine choke as he's hurt. So give me Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, the number 1 ranked Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, to defeat the number 4 ranked Beneil Dariush via second round guillotine choke submission. But betting side, I don't love it. But in a 50-50 fight, take the underdog at plus 125. But the safest bet is the under 2.5 at around minus 180. But the pick is going to be Charles Do Bronx Oliveira by submission.